Hello, welcome to the Burt Locker. This is effectively an MMA show, sports recap. I like to talk about sports. I like to have a bit of a laugh. And yeah, that's effectively what this is. This one in particular is going to be focusing on the UFC fight night we saw at the weekend, Arman Tsarukyan versus Beneil Dariush. A little bit of a look at what's been going on in the news, namely some bizarre stuff. When is it not bizarre with Mr. Sean Strickland is what I would ask about that. And yeah, and also this bit of non-news between... there's so many things like coming up for potential fights for UFC300 that I hope aren't actually real. Anyway, let's get cracking. So, yeah, the UFC Fight Night Austin, yeah. For UFC Austin, I believe they called it. Man, Austin got a sensational fight card, didn't they? Those are lucky buggers down there. I would say, right, what jumped off the card for me? Well, I'll say Drakkar Klose looked absolutely outstanding. Luis J. Gomez with hair, you know, he looked great. He looked great. Got a lovely knockout. And also, just want it noted, this is 3 events in a row. I need to find a way. Can you bet on which fight is going to be fight of the night? Because 3 fight cards in a row, I have successfully predicted the fight of the night. I said that Rodolfo Bellato versus Ihor Potieria was going to be fight of the night. Boom, called it. Fantastic fight. Go back and watch that one. I won't even ruin the result. I won't even tell you what happens. But it's violent and it's entertaining as all hell. Go back and watch that. Yeah, Veronica Hardy got the win as well. Super happy with that. Split decision, who gives a fuck? Also, right, the only fight that I missed was Veronica Hardy versus Jamie Lynn Horth. Now, there are loads of people after the fight card saying jiu-jitsu sucks. Did I miss something? What happened? Like, what? Did I miss a fight where someone was trying to use jiu-jitsu and it just didn't work? Is that what happened? Because, I mean, Miesha Tate, she looked brilliant. I mean, hats off to her. She was... I did not think that Miesha Tate maybe had much more left in her. But do you know what? When she's able to initiate the grappling, and she did seem the bigger of the two as well, bigger and stronger, and she just looked so dominant, man. Like, really, really dominant. Yeah. You know what? Shut my mouth. I was wrong. Miesha Tate looked absolutely that was a really strong performance from Miesha Tate. One of the strongest we've actually seen of Miesha Tate in her whole career, which is batshit crazy to think about. And I thought that Clay Guida got a bit hard done by. I thought that he possibly edged Joaquim Silva, but yeah, I don't know. It was. You also got a performance of the night bonus for Sean Brady. Because, yeah, it was, because he got the submission in the end over Kelvin Gastelum, but it was just domination. I did not see that coming. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was going to be far more difficult to take down, far more tricky on the feet. Sean Brady is probably just that good, to be honest. I don't know if Kelvin Gastelum's, perhaps fallen off a bit, or if Sean Brady's just this new breed that are absolute killers. Maybe it's a little bit of both. To be fair, it probably is a little bit of both. I mean, how is it that Kelvin Gastelum can have like an absolute war against Adesanya that he almost wins at the weight class above, and he comes down to welterweight and just gets ragdolled? I don't think he's a particularly big welterweight either. So yeah, it was interesting. And as I thought Davison Figueiredo looked absolutely sensational against Rob Font. He definitely looked at home in that new weight class. He shouldn't have been cutting all that weight anyway. Speaking of people who cut weight a ridiculous amount, Jalen Turner also fought Bobby Green. Bobby Green may have also, I don't know, said something about Kerry Hadley's wife. Kerry Hadley is the referee, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. But did Bobby Green like mouth off at Kerry Hadley whilst he was having that barn burner with Arman Tsarukyan in the corridor at the hotel? Do you reckon maybe he looked at Kerry Hadley funny or something? Because Kerry Hadley let him take a real nice beating. That was... Look, I don't like to call things... Like, look, at the end of the day, the referee had a bad night there. Well, not a whole bad night. Like normally, look, Kerry Hadley's a really good referee, just by the way. He normally gets it spot on. Obviously, it's a very difficult job. And because you call it too early and you get shouted at, call it too late, and you get, you know, called out for trying to murder fighters. But that one did seem very, very late. Having watched it back a few times though, if you look at it from the angle that the referee was looking at it from, I mean, from the TV series, it's pretty obvious. You can see that Bobby Green goes out on the way down. I think there's an argument to say you could have called it after the first shot. Like, where as soon as he hit the ground, he probably could have called it there. But then, Jalen kind of hits him a few times, and he puts his hands up and starts blocking them. Is that intelligently defending? I don't know. Probably not. But I can see maybe I think it looked a lot later than it actually was, but it was very, very late. And those last few shots, they were nasty. But Bobby Green does talk a lot of trash. I don't know if he talked trash at the referee. Maybe he did. Maybe the referee had a bet on him. Who knows? I'm just kidding. I would never insinuate that the referees would be betting on fighters. I'm sure it happens though. Does it happen? I don't know. Main event. Look, that was always on the cards. Arman Sarukian is the new breed that's coming up, and he's insanely good. It was always on the cards that we saw Beneil get absolutely smashed in that one. And people are saying, Beneil Dariush, he went from this 7-fight win streak and now he's on a 2-fight knockout streak. And it's just like, yeah, but look at who he's fighting, guys. He's fighting, Charles Oliveira has been knocking a lot of people out. And then you put him against Arman Sarukian, again, someone who's an absolute murderer. So look at the level of competition. Yeah, Beneil Dariush is coming off 2 losses, but does that mean he's done? I don't think so. Look, he's still going to be very, very dangerous. Let's have a look at what's going on. What's been going on in the news this week? Well, mostly it's yeah. So you've got a lot of potential fights for UFC 300. Now, I'll be totally honest. UFC 300, I was considering going to UFC 300. I was at UFC 200. But looking at who they've got on the roster right now and who's actually available to fight, I think UFC 300 is going to really pale in comparison to UFC 200 in terms of star power. I just don't... Which stars are going to be on there? John Jones, injured. Right, so he's going to be waiting for Stipe Miocic, which rules out Stipe Miocic as well. Do you maybe put Tom Aspinall on there defending his interim heavyweight title? I don't know. Does that even make sense? Volkanovski's booked. Adesanya's taking a layoff. Sean Strickland versus Duplessis, I think that's already booked for February. Who else is there? Like Pantoja, he's fighting next week. Leon Edwards, he's fighting next week. Who else is there? Islam Makhachev, maybe? But he wants to go up and fight a welterweight. But do you do maybe an Islam Makhachev lightweight title fight? And who else is there? I don't think there's really... Alexa Grasso. Do you put her in against someone? I don't see too many options to have a really big blockbuster fight card. They keep on teasing quote unquote super fights. The ones that I've seen suggested, Nick Diaz versus St. Pierre 2. Come on, guys, that was a good fight. 2014. Nick Diaz looked awful in his last fight. He looked pretty old. It's the first time I've seen. I never thought I'd say, Nick Diaz looks old, but he really did. He looked old and kind of bloated and out of shape against Robbie Lawler. I know that he potentially had a back issue, but still, you're putting him in against George St. Pierre, somebody who we've seen can come off a long layoff and still look really, really good. No, thank you. No, thank you. Nobody asked for that. I hope that is false. They've also said, maybe we'll bring back Ronda Rousey to fight Miesha Tate one more time. How are you going to headline UFC 300 with that? That is some bullshit. Look, you can really tell they're not trying to sell the UFC currently. They were trying to sell the UFC 200, and that's why they had just such a huge event. And you can really tell that's not the case this time. They've actually booked Jim Miller for a fight, I think just before UFC 300. So they might not even have Jim Miller on it. If you don't have Jim Miller on UFC 300, you have really messed up. matchmaking wise. I'm sorry, you just have. Like, that was the last thing that Jim Miller wanted, for God's sake. All he wanted was to be at UFC 300, and they've currently booked him to have a fight like the month before or 2 months before. Yeah, okay, he could turn around quick, but come on, guys, why even risk that? That is some disrespect to Jim Miller right there. And Jim Miller's just, he should be a Hall of Famer if he's not already. He might be already, I don't know. But yeah, for me it should be Jim Miller versus Tony Ferguson, UFC 300. That's one that I would watch. But yeah, they're running out of options, man. They are running out of options. They're running out of them quick. And yeah, the only other thing that we've seen in the news is apparently, like, someone asked, like, where's all this hate coming from for Ian Gary? It's like, I think it's mostly because he behaves like a bit of a bellend, honestly. Like, he's not a hard guy to dislike. Come on, man. Like, and now he's just getting a bit, look, he went really hard on Neil Magny, one of the nicest guys in the sport, and now he's actually caused Neil Magny some real problems. Like, apparently Neil Magny's going through a divorce, and they're bringing up like this, like, because people are online just calling him a child abuser and all that kind of shit. That's not nice. That's not nice at all. And Ian Gary started that shit, and he basically intentionally took what Neil Magny said out of context and basically tried to turn it against him and kept on throwing the term child abuser around, talking about Neil Magny. Neil Magny, one of the nicest guys in the sport. And now Ian Gary is being called a cuck on every single, like, you know, MMA roasting site going. And people are saying, oh, you know, he's getting really pounded on Twitter, just like, you know, his wife's getting pounded by his ex-husband, apparently. Oh, her ex-husband. Oh, no, sorry. Either way, look, it's just, just messing around. Obviously, like, you know, I don't really condone any kind of online kind of like bullying or hate campaigns, but with how Ian Gary behaved and kind of initiated this big hate campaign against one of the nicest guys in the sport, Neil Magny, I would say that an online cuck hate campaign couldn't happen to a nicer guy, could it? Eh? Reap what you sow, a little bit, didn't you? Eh? Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I thought, you know, I liked Ian Gary at first before he opened his goddamn mouth. I'm sure many people feel the same about me. But I don't give a shit. I just like the reason Ian Gary is getting a lot of hate right now is because he's kind of not really that likable of a character. He just isn't. And I cannot wait until he runs into Shavkat Rakhmonov and gets absolutely pounded. And you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Sean Strickland either, because I think Sean Strickland gets vastly underrated, and we saw that against Adesanya. Like, he got vastly underestimated, and look at that, he's the middleweight champion of the world now. And yeah, I know that Sean Strickland was trolling him, but it's so funny to seeing Ian Gary like literally kind of start a campaign using the word child abuser against Neil Magny, and literally Sean Strickland comes out saying a lot of things that are completely true. He does live with his husband, with his wife's ex-husband for some bizarre reason. I don't know what the deal is there, but you know, he's been saying something. You know, his wife did write that book about, you know, how to be a wag a long time ago, like completely irrelevant now, by the way, but all those things did happen. And yet, Neil, and rather than just brushing it off, I think if Ian Gary had just brushed it off and just ignored it, or even laughed at it, said, oh, you fucking clown, you know, piss off, it wouldn't have been as big a story as him messaging Sean Strickland saying, I'm going to get lawyers involved. That's just a dumb move. Do you know what I mean? Just like, oh, I'm going to sue you. Oh, piss off. God damn, that just makes us like Sean Strickland even more, and you even less. That somebody needs to, you know, his wife needs to take a better handle of his PR thing, how he's being perceived in the public. Unless, look, hate sells fights. End of the day, Floyd Mayweather made a career of it. Maybe that's what Ian Gary's trying to do, because people will pay to see people they hate get beat more than they'll pay to see someone they like win. So yeah, that's all I've got time for this week, really, because the troll of the week is just basically everything that Sean Strickland has been saying to Ian Gary. Next event, I'm going to be totally honest, the next event is not blowing my skirt up. at all. Song Yudong versus Gutierrez. Yeah, it's probably going to be a pretty good fight. But really, this is just a buffer. It's a fluffer between now and obviously the Leon Edwards, Colby Covington card, which got Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson on there, which I'm really looking forward to. I'll tell you what, Anthony Smith versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. One thing I will say, Anthony Smith, you like Lionheart, lion balls more like. Goddamn, balls of steel, that man. Because, not being funny, but Anthony Smith has been having real problems with his like defending leg kicks, and he's been having problems with that leg. And he goes out to fight a guy who kicks the leg as well as Khalil Roundtree Jr. Khalil Roundtree Jr. has nearly ended, but like Modestas Bukauskas' career with a leg kick, and his low kicks are extremely dangerous. Anthony Smith wants to test that out. Fair play. Balls of steel, mate. Balls of a lion. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Smith. That's a really good fight. That's a really fun fight because Khalil Roundtree, when he turns up, he can kickbox with absolutely anybody. And Anthony Smith, he's tough as hell. That should be, for me, the main event, if I'm totally honest. It's the one I'm looking forward to the most. But, yeah, I'm probably going to have a look at some of those fights. I'll try and get a casuals guide done. A lot of these fights are not massively exciting me, and I do have a busy week, so if I do miss it, I'm not even sorry. But yeah. But hey, you know, you get what you pay for. I'll probably at least look at the main card, at least look at the fights that I'm actually excited about. But yeah, hit subscribe, do all that good stuff. Until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.